This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're traveling over the pond all the way to London. And we're going to be hanging out on Baker Street, but we're not just going to stay there on Baker Street, we're going to be going beyond Baker Street. This is a cooperative game for 2 to 4 players, and you're trying to solve the crime, motive, suspect, and opportunity, and you're trying to do it before Sherlock Holmes does it. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. And beyond Baker Street, you're trying to cooperatively find out the motive, suspect, and opportunity and confirm those before Holmes gets there before you, and you have to do it exactly when you have 20 pieces of evidence. So at the beginning of the game, we get to flip the top card of these over and see who we're trying to get. Now there's 4 different types of evidence. You can think of them as suits. For example, blue is for witnesses, red is for actual clues, brownish and footsteps would be for movement, and purple with documents. So in this case, we actually have a witness and 2 clues. These can be mixed up anyway. This is the suspect, the motive, and the opportunity. His motive was madness, and we're trying to opportunity was covered in darkness, and this is Dr. Grimsby Roylott, and they have different flavor text on there as well. Now it is cooperative, so depending on the amount of players there are, you'll take that many cards. Now different in this game, it's similar to a game you may have played called Hanabi, is when you take cards, you never look at them, and when you hold cards, you never look at them. So if you're holding cards, you hold them away from you like this, so everyone else can see your cards, but you can't see yours. So let's say we're playing a 3-player game, everyone gets 4 cards. This would be one of my teammates' cards because I can see theirs and you can never see your own. Let's say I'm looking at one of my teammates. One of the things you can do in this game on your action on your turn, you do one action, is you can do an assist, which is give them a clue about their cards. Now when you give clues, you could do it by the type, aka the color, or the numbers. Now I could say, this is your only 3. Or I could say, these 2 are your 6s. I have to say all of them if there's more than one. Or I could say, this one is a clue, which is the red card. Or I could say, these 2 are movement cards, which are the sort of brownish ones. And those are the types of clues that you can give, and they'll try to remember. Usually they rearrange their cards, or maybe they put it down. Now remember, they can't see their cards, so you're telling them clues, and they're trying to remember. Now every time you give somebody a clue, Sherlock Holmes moves down 1. Now where he starts, depending on the case file, this is level 1. There's 6 different levels you can play the game at, and Holmes starts at 15 on the easy one, but he might start very down low if it's a harder one, and he moves every time a clue is given. Remember, if he gets to 0 before you finish, you lose. So let's say I gave him that clue. It said, this is your only clue card. And knowing that there's 2 clues that we're trying to basically solve here, they can, on their turn, without looking, take one of their cards, flip it over and choose a spot before they flip it over, basically. And they could put this here. Now, when this happens, 1 of 3 things are going to happen. It's going to be the correct type. Red clue, that's good. Now, as long as it's the correct clue and the number is less than or equal to this number, you're good and it would be the next player's turn. However, if he had placed this card here by accident or thinking he had a different card, if it's not the right type of clue, this is a document, this is a clue, this actually goes behind here, and now the number that you're trying to get to is increased to 12. Now let's say this was already placed here on a previous turn, and someone else played this card here as an investigate action. Correct type of clue, it's a clue, but this number is greater than this. If this ever happens, basically this becomes a dead lead. These cards get shuffled back into this draw deck, and this card will go face down in what's called the impossible, because it's impossible if this player is it, and then you would put this face up, you have a new motive. Now there's only 3 of each of these, so if any point in time you lose the last one of any of these, you automatically lose the game, and now our new motive is a witness with a value of 10. By the way, anytime you play a card, you draw a card, and you, again, don't look at it, you put it up in your hand so that you can't see it. Now we just put a card in what's called the impossible, and again, depending on the level, there's a different amount of cards that can go there. Once there's 4 cards there in this case, every card after that gets added, Holmes is going to move down closer to 0, which again would help you lose the game. Another thing you could do on your turn is confirm. So let's say you have the right clues. We have witnesses. This is a witness. This is 10. This adds up to perfectly 10. On your turn, you can basically just take one of these and confirm. Now when you do that, Sherlock Holmes moves back one, which buys you a little bit more time. Another action you could do is you can, without looking, you discard face up into the impossible. You would move evidence, because you know this is impossibly to be part of the solution, you can move your evidence 6 forward. So this evidence starts at 0 and it would go 6 forward down here. Now this is important because to win the game, you have to have confirmed all 3 after you've gotten the evidence to exactly 20. Not before, not after. If this ever goes over 20, you lose. If you confirm the 3rd before this gets to 20, you lose. This has to get to 20, then you confirm your 3rd before Sherlock Holmes gets to the end, and that's how you win the game. Of course, these would have had the cards that matched up there perfectly to confirm, but that's how you try to win the game. Now, the last action you could possibly take is maybe we don't want this here. We can decide to pursue, which is we purposely put this face down in the impossible, knowing that it adds to this pile, and then flip up another one. And again, anytime you lose the 3rd one of any of them, the game's over. That's pretty much how the game works mechanically. But to enrich the experience, there's lots of different roles you can use at the beginning of the game. You don't have to play with these, but I recommend doing it. And there's some that are 1 pipe, which are actually bad cards, all the way up to 4, which are really powerful. For example, whoever has this cannot give clues about the red clues. You can't say you have 2 clue cards. This lady's cool when she can give 2 clues and only move Sherlock Holmes down once. That's very powerful. And then this one is you can confirm a lead whether it's that one or one below. So if we were trying to get to this guy, we could have witnesses adding up to 10 or 11 before we confirm it. Now there are a ton, I think about 16 of these different roles. You can either pick them specifically or you can randomize them. So there's all different ways to turn the difficulty of the game easier or harder, in addition to the 6 case files. Well, there's Beyond Baker Street. Now, obviously, this is being compared to a game called Hanabi, which won the 2013 Spiel des Jahres Award, which uses that mechanism of holding the cards away from yourself and giving clues to different people. So that's the main mechanism of this game, but it doesn't just stop there. This isn't just a Hanabi clone. This game is a much more enriching experience. In fact, this game completely replaces Hanabi for me. You know, a recent game used that mechanism as well, but matched it with a sort of a speed mechanism. It was also cooperative called Bomb Squad, and I like that quite a lot, but I have a hard time getting people to play speed games, and you put this on top of it. This game, Beyond Baker Street, is more similar to Hanabi than, say, Bomb Squad was, because it's still about giving the best clue, not the fastest clue. So it does feel a lot like Hanabi in that way, but it does feel very different as well. The theme is much stronger here. You're trying to get the motive, opportunity, and suspect. And the cards, if you spend the time to look at the cards and read them, there's some good flavor text there that helps you get into the theme. I honestly find it much more interesting to, instead of just getting numbers in a row 1 through 5 with fireworks, to actually finding the right type of card, clues and documents and movement and witnesses, and trying to get the right ones to add up. I found that much more enjoyable. I like the aspect of when you discard the cards, you gotta get the investigation up there, and you need to get that to exactly 20 before you can confirm anything. I like the fact that you're rushing against the clock of Sherlock trying to get it done, but you can move him backwards if you confirm things. The game is pretty thematic for as abstracted as it is, and adds a lot of good flavor. The character cards add so much, those role cards where you have the special abilities. And the game has like almost an infinite amount of replayability because you can just ratchet up and down the difficulty any way you want. You can do it with those case cards, anywhere from level 1 to level 6. But even within each level, if you purposely gave yourself certain cards of those roles, the 1 pipe cards are very, they actually do bad things to you, and the 4 ones are super strong. So even on any given level, you could play with the types of roles that you play with specifically and change it up with that. I really like that. Overall, absolutely fantastic game. This is one that has completely replaced Hanabi for me. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. And again, it does feel similar to Hanabi, but it still yet feels different. It gives you new challenges, gives you a different way to think of things. And with the replayability and the roles, I think this one's gonna be staying around for a while. And because I've liked it so much and I love it, I'm gonna keep it in my library. So with that, let's induct it into my gaming library with a saxophone serenade. This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter and making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.